Okay, welcome everyone to the Advanced Research and Public Policy and Administration webinar. My name is Taylor Lee, and I am the liaison librarian to the School of Public Policy and Administration here at Walden. And this webinar is designed for students who have completed the bulk of their coursework and are starting to think about their dissertation. So for the purposes of this webinar, I'm going to assume that you are already familiar with the library's website and your particular homepage, research homepage, and at least a few of the subject-specific databases located on those pages. That being said, everyone is welcome here, so if this is not your situation, don't feel like you have to leave. I just wanted to include that disclaimer in case you find yourself wondering what I'm talking about at any given point. And if you do find yourself in that situation, I recommend watching the Introduction to Public Policy research webinar because it will clarify a lot of the things that we discuss here. So in this webinar, we'll discuss advanced search strategies for subject-specific scholarly databases. We'll also discuss pertinent parts of the library's homepage and helpful resources advanced level students have at their disposal. And with that being said, let's look at our objectives for today's session. First, we're going to see how to access quick answers and library guides, which is an important skill, especially at the advanced level. Then we're going to learn what Boolean operators are and how we can use them in the databases to improve our searches. We are then going to talk about some alternative search methods, such as subject term searching and abstract searching. We'll talk a bit about comprehensive searching, what it means when we talk about searching comprehensively or exhausting the literature, and look at how you can save searches and create search alerts. And then finally, we'll see how to find or request materials that the library does not provide access to, which is also a really important skill at the advanced level. Okay, so we're gonna kind of navigate away from the PowerPoint now. We'll come back at different points. I'm gonna go, let's see. I'm going to go over here to the library's homepage. Let's see if I can make it just a little bigger. Well, we'll keep it like that. So we're going to start here at the library's homepage, and I just want to show you two very helpful resources that you may not know about: Quick Answers and Library Guides. So both of these resource types offer written instructional content on a variety of topics related to research in the library. So both quick answers and guides are great because, unlike librarians, they are available 24/7. So if you get stuck in your research or you're working odd hours, you might want to check out some of this content because you might find an answer to your question there before submitting a question to the reference desk or the Ask a Librarian tool. This instructional content is particularly helpful for doctoral level students or advanced level students, as they will often need to utilize the library in more varied and complex ways. So both of these content types are located up here via this main search bar on the library's website. The only thing you'll need to do to access them is to toggle between Thoreau, which is checked by default, and select Search Everything instead. And you'll notice when you do that, the text in the search box changes and it says Search Library Skills, Quick Answers, Articles, and more. So as an example, we're going to use this phrase peer review. So if you can type anything in here that you have a question about. We're just using peer review as an example. So I'm going to search for that. And this is what the results screen is going to look like. So you're going to have in the central column here, these are the quick answers. And these are, as the name implies, short answers to commonly asked questions. I'll just click on this first result so you can get an idea of what they look like. Very succinct, and these are great things to look at when you have a question about some of the more commonly common issues you might encounter in your courses regarding the library. And so it's going to give you an answer to your question, and then it will link out to related information at the bottom. So that is a typical quick answer. Now, library guides, on the other hand, are located over here on the left-hand side. And these are much more detailed pieces of instructional content than the quick answers are. So some of our more popular guides include Evaluating Resources, the Library Guide to Capstone Literature Reviews, Keyword Searching Guide, among others. I'm going to click on this peer review link right here. You'll notice there are two hyperlinks in each entry. There's one that appears first that is bolded, and then there's one that comes second that is not bolded. The one that comes second is actually the larger guide. The first link is a section of the second link. So I'm going to click on peer review, and this takes us to the peer review guide. As you can tell, it provides much more information about peer review. It has multiple pages. Over here on the left, it tells you how to limit to peer review articles when you're looking in databases, and it tells you how to verify peer review as well. So just much more information than what we were seeing in the quick answers. So if you did want to browse, this is the guides you're seeing here are a result of the search that we did up here. But if you did want to browse our guides, you could come here. Let's see. Okay, the Get Help tab at the top of the library pages. Over here in the Build Library Skills box, there's a link for Library Skills Guides. And you can come here and browse through all of the library skills guides that we have. And we also have guides specific to different subject areas. Okay, so I'm actually going to use this search box to segue into our next topic, which are Boolean operators. So I'm just going to type this term Boolean into the search bar. Now, this is a phrase that you may have encountered before, you might not have. It's pretty specific to libraries and databases. All it is I'm going to go into this quick answer to help illustrate what I'm talking about. All Boolean operators are the words and, or, and not. So what you see over here in this left-hand column. And these are words that we are going to use in between our keywords or our search terms when we're searching in the databases. So I think I like my graphic better here. So three words, and, or, and not. We're going to use and in between keywords used to search for distinct concepts. And we're going to talk a bit more about this in a moment. Using the word and is always going to decrease the amount of results that you see because it's adding necessary words that must appear in the content in the results list. So for every new term that you add, you're going to see fewer results. So for example, I have recidivism and drug abuse here. So you can imagine if I just search for recidivism, I might see 20,000 results. But then if I add this term and drug abuse, I might see, I don't know, 10,000 results. So just an example. Or on the other hand, we're going to use in between words that we use to search for the same concept. So in between synonymous search terms. And using the word or is always going to increase results. So if you're in the example here, if you searched for drug abuse and weren't getting great results, you could add a synonymous term or a related term, in this case drug addiction, and separate it with the word or, and you will get more results. Not, on the other hand, this is used less frequently than and or. It is used to hone searches by excluding problematic keywords, and this you may never encounter this issue, but for some topics, when you're searching for information on your topic, there might be some word in there that is telling the database or that is returning a bunch of irrelevant results or results from irrelevant subject areas. And in those cases, we might want to use this word not just to clarify to the database what we want to see. So we might type in drug abuse, not mental illness. So if we were interested in drug abuse, but not as it relates to mental illness, we might do it that way. So in a moment, we'll see an example of how to use these Boolean operators in a database search. So I'm going to hop back over to the library's homepage, and I'm just going to start here, and we're going to navigate to the database Political Science Complete. Let me just take a moment to verify that there are no issues. Okay. So there's a couple different ways you can get to Political Science Complete or our databases. One is this big databases button on the library's homepage. If you click on this, this is going to take you to our comprehensive list of databases. But we want to go to those specific to public policy and administration. So we're going to click on select a subject and public policy and administration. Okay, so then you'll get to the research homepage, and the first thing I want to mention is that you do have the ability up here in the top left. There's a drop down, and this is how you can easily navigate to any of our other research homepages from this page, and especially for policy related topics. These are almost always multidisciplinary in some way or other. So really think about what your topic is about and what other subject areas it might have some overlap with, and explore the relevant pages. Okay, so this is the research homepage here, and I'm just going to go into this first menu for databases. I'll point out that there's also a drop-down menu within this drop-down menu. And you can navigate to different subcategories of public policy and administration. But right now, we're just going to go straight into Political Science Complete. Okay. So when you click on Political Science Complete, it's going to take you to this advanced search screen. And regardless of the database that you're looking at or looking in, you want to be on the advanced search page. So sometimes you might click on a database and it'll take you to a very basic search page with just one search bar. So whenever that happens, you want to look for a link that says advanced search, because that's going to present you with multiple search boxes, which is what we want to see. So for our sample research question today, we're going to look at this question of how have water regulations affected agriculture in the United States? And I like to use this question because I get good results doing it, and I've never seen it come across my desk in the form of a student topic. So a lot of times you can just start by pulling keywords straight from that research question. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to type in water. And as we're doing this, we're going to separate out the distinct concepts that go into our research question. So water is the first one of these concepts. Regulations are going to be the second concept. Then agriculture, and we're going to add another search box by clicking on this plus sign. And we're going to do United States. Okay, so we have our main search terms in there, our initial search terms, that is. Before we search, we want to scroll down, and you'll notice that the full text box is automatically checked. The peer review box is not. We want to reverse this. So we are going to uncheck the full text box and check the peer review box. Now, why do we do this? Well, we do this because we are at an advanced level in our program. We are preparing for the dissertation or some other major research assignment. And we want to make sure that we are seeing everything out there on our topic, and not only those materials that we have immediate full text access to. So that you may come across some articles or other types of resources that we don't have full text access to, but if you do, there are ways that we can go about tracking those down. But for the searching process, we want to make sure we're seeing everything. So that's why we uncheck full text and we check peer review, because that is the kind of literature that we're looking for. You also have the capability of limiting your date range right here on this initial search page, but I prefer waiting to see how many results we get before we do that. So with all of this typed in, I'm going to search, and I'm seeing 17 results. Okay, so 17, it's not horrible, but it's not enough for a literature review. So how can we get some additional results? Well, we're going to use some of those Boolean operators to do that. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to simply add some additional synonymous terms to our existing search boxes. So for water, we might add a term like irrigation if we're talking about agriculture. So we're going to add irrigation and separate it with this word or. Now, a lot of times students ask, does this word or have to be capitalized? These days, it does not. In the olden days, that was how you specified to the database that these were separate terms. These days, you don't have to capitalize it. You could leave it in lowercase, but I just do it because it helps me keep everything straight. And then we're going to do the same thing for our other concepts. So in addition to regulations, we're going to have legislation or laws. Agriculture, we're going to add these terms farming or crops. And then there really are no other synonymous terms for United States. We might say or USA. And then all of our other limiters are going to stay in place. And we're going to search again. And so this bumps us up to 57. So this is just a quick demonstration of how much more you stand to find by optimizing your searches with these Boolean operators. And I will say that when I meet with students, one of the most successful parts of the appointments that I have, I feel like, and based on the feedback I get from students, is simply learning how to use these Boolean operators, because they really will give you much better results. So the examples that we have seen so far have been keyword searches. That's what we've been doing. We've been searching by keyword. And this is going to remain one of the most reliable and straightforward ways to search. But there are other ways of searching as well. So some of these alternative search methods are subject term searching and abstract searching. So we're going to go into that now. So why might we want to opt for one of these alternative search methods over a simple keyword search? After all, keyword searching is something we're pretty much all familiar with at this point. It's similar to how you might search in Google or one of the various search engines on the internet. Well, keyword searching returns results that only mention your subject term once in passing, at least in these academic databases that we're talking about. So in other words, if we're searching for water or irrigation, one of these terms may only appear once in the content of the articles that we see in the results list. On the other hand, subject term searching, subject terms are words and phrases assigned to articles based on the entirety of their content. So subject terms are much more reliable indicators of relevancy than keywords. Keywords can be virtually anything. Subject terms, on the other hand, are limited and specific to an individual database. Depending on the database you're in, subject terms might also be called index terms, subject headings, or topics. They go by a few different names. So if subject terms are specific to the database that you're in, how do you know which subject terms to use? Well, there are a few different ways you can identify these subject terms. One way is after running a simple keyword search like we've done, you can simply look at the subjects that are associated with each entry. So we see subjects like food security, land use, land tenure. Obviously, it's talking about the country of Ghana. Every entry you see is going to have a listing of subject terms. So I definitely recommend looking at some of those. This is going to give you ideas of other terms. Even if you don't search for these terms as subject terms, it's going to give you more ideas for keywords to use in future searches. You can also come up here to this link at the top of the page called the thesaurus. And I'm going to go ahead and open that up. I open it in a new tab because what happens is if you click on it without opening it in a new tab, it's going to take us away from our search. So I'm going to open it in a new tab over here. And it's going to present you with two different search boxes here. And we're going to use this second one down here. So we're going to type our search terms into this bar, and it's going to show us relevant subject terms to use for that topic. So I'm going to type in water, and then it's going to show me all of the different subject terms related to water. Now these, the way they display, it defaults to what the subject term begins with, but you can also change this to subject term contains or based on relevancy, which is sometimes helpful to do it by relevancy. Okay, so you'll notice that all of these subject terms over here on the right are hyperlinked. So for example, it says water conservation. If that's what you're interested in, use this term water conservation. I'm going to click on, I'm going to come down here to water allocation, and I'm going to click on water rights. And sometimes you have to click on it once again. Once you do, it's going to bring you to a page that looks like this. It's going to present you with broader terms. First, it's going to give you a scope note, and this just tells you what they mean when they use this phrase water rights. And then they're going to give you broader terms, narrower terms, related terms, and used for terms. Now, all of these terms that we're seeing in these lists are good to consider for your future searches. You can also create a new search with one or more of these terms by checking the box to the left of each term and clicking add and then search. So I'm going to click on, let's see. Oh, I think they took that one away. I'm just going to click on riparian rights here. Going to add it so that you can see it populates this search box up at the top. And then I'm going to search for that. So now what we're going to see are all of the results in this particular database that have been labeled with this subject term riparian rights. So that's one way to do a subject term, and then you can go ahead, you can modify this search any way you want. You can add other keywords into these other search boxes, or you can add additional subject terms. You can also look for subject terms in the database's index, and this is very closely related to what we were seeing in the thesaurus. But the benefit of an index search is being able to see all of the results in a database that are categorized using the same subject terms. And this can be helpful as you gather sources for your literature review. You can access the index in EBSCO databases by clicking on More up here, and then Indexes. And again, I'm going to open this in a separate tab. And so this is what the search page will look like. And you'll see this drop-down menu that says Browse and Index. There are around 10 to 15 different indexes in this database that you can search. We are interested in subject terms right now, so I'm going to select that one. And again, I'm going to type in this term water and then browse. So now we can see all of the various subject terms related to water, as well as how many results or records we will get from searching for that particular one. So you can see this first term, just water, is going to have 238 different records for it, and then it will decrease from there. Well, not necessarily, but the next one, water and civilization, will have 9. Then we hop down to water economic aspects, that has 20. A lot of times when you see one that only has 1 record, that indicates that this is really a specific title, so a book, and that's why there's only 1 record. And similarly, in this search, we can select, I'm going to select water. There's a box next to these terms, and then I'm going to select water economic aspects as well, and do the same process. I'm going to add it to our search. And so now we're going to see all the results in this database that have been assigned either of these respective subject terms. So that, yeah, an interesting note is that when you do that, it defaults to placing the word or in between these subject terms. So it's not going to default to and, it defaults to or, which is going to ensure a greater number of results. And then one last way to perform an index search is by clicking on an article's title from your list of results. So I'm going to just go into this first one here. And it'll give you the subject terms right here, and all of these are going to be hyperlinked. And if I click on one of these, it's going to automatically populate a new search with this term. And so if you were interested in doing this, you might want to right click and open it in a new tab so you don't lose your current search. But that's another way that you can search by subject term. Okay, so let's go back to our initial search here, and I want to talk about abstract searching. So abstract searching is a very simple way to search. It's almost identical to keyword searching, minus one small but important difference. Abstract searching, like subject term searching, will return more relevant results than a simple keyword search because it will search for your search terms only in the article's abstract. The article's abstract, or an abstract in an article, is going to succinctly summarize the overall content of that article. So if a term shows up in the abstract, it will likely be representative of the overall content of the article. And this is, of course, as opposed to a traditional keyword search, which is looking for these terms anywhere in the content of the article. So this is a particularly good way to search if you are getting too many results. And what do I mean by too many? Whenever I'm doing a search on a topic, I'm usually, general rule of thumb, looking for results anywhere from 50 to 200. in the range of 50 to 200 results. That's what I consider a reasonable number of results to be able to go through. So if you have many more than that, 400 and up, you might want to limit your search in other ways. Okay, so in order to illustrate how searching the abstract can affect your results, I'm going to run a demo of all three search methods that we've discussed today. So let's see, I'm going to clear this information and I'm going to type in this phrase, water laws. So first what I'm going to do is just search as a keyword. So this is the default way that we would search. I'm gonna see how many results we get. Okay, so we're seeing 902 results for this phrase water laws. Now that's a keyword search. I'm going to change this drop-down menu from the default that says select a field. And first I'm going to show you what would happen if we search for this as a subject term. Okay, when we search for it as a subject term, we get 255 results. Now, so all of the results in this listing are going to contain water laws as a subject term. So that means somebody has looked at all of these articles and determined that they are about water laws. Lastly, I'm going to change this to abstract. And search again. And this brings us down to 141. So you can see how we have progressively narrowed our results by searching in different ways. Okay, let me check in with the questions to make sure everything is still okay. Looks like we're getting some questions. Okay, all right. So let's say we're going to move on now to this next concept of citation chaining. And this is a way that you can find additional literature on your topic using articles that you've already found. So let's say that you find an article in this database, Political Science Complete, and it seems perfect for your topic. It's very relevant. It seems like it would be very helpful to use for your research, but it's from 2011. And your literature is supposed to come from the past 5 years. So what can you do in this instance? This is one trick that is helpful to know about is called citation chaining. And this is a way to identify the most influential articles on your topic, as well as find earlier and later articles that cite or are cited by a particular article. So you can do this to a limited extent in our scholarly databases. So for example, in Political Science Complete, you'll see this link in some of the records that says cited references. So if I clicked on this, it's going to show me all of the references for this particular article that I could also access in this database. But this is going to take me further back in time because, of course, this is looking at the studies that this article cited. Let me see if we can find. Okay, so here's an example of something else you might see, another link that says time cited in this database. And it has a number here, 1. So that's going to show you an article that was written after this article that has cited this article. And this is what we're getting at when we're talking about citation chaining. So you can do this to a limited extent in some of our databases, but Google Scholar is particularly useful for this exercise. Why? Because Google Scholar indexes a lot of content. So much more than any individual database that we subscribe to. And what do I mean by index? I mean they have records for virtually every article out there. That doesn't mean they provide full text access to those articles, but they have records for them. So it's a useful tool to look up articles. So with that being said, I'm going to go to Google Scholar. And I saw an article in the results list from earlier called A Human Right to Groundwater. So I'm just going to search for that title. So this is what you can do if you have found some articles that are just outside of that 5-year window. You can type the title into Google Scholar and search. If you have the citation in a database, you can easily copy and paste it straight into Google Scholar. And when you do that, similar to what we were seeing, we're going to get this cited by link under each article, under each result. And it's going to say cited by and then some number. So this tells you how many other articles indexed by Google Scholar have cited this article. So we can click on this hyperlink, and I'll do that now. And now we're able to view those articles and find more recent literature that is likely relevant to your topic. So if you were searching for an article written, published in, let's say, 2012 or 2013, the articles that come up when you click on the cited by are almost definitely going to be from 2014 and onward. So that's how you would find more recent literature using this tool. The cited by number is also, or I should say, can be an indication of how influential a particular article has been. So generally speaking, the higher the number, the more influential the article has been. But this comes with a caveat, because this is also a result of when the article was published. So, for example, an older article published in 2005 may have been cited more than an article from last year, but that does not necessarily mean that the older article is objectively better. But just something to keep in mind. Now, when you're in Google Scholar, now that we're here, you're going to see some different kinds of links out here to the right. So sometimes you'll see these links that say PDF and then some website after that. Other times you'll see ones that say HTML. And this is similar to what you might see in some of our databases. Also, you might see the Find It Walden button, just like in our databases. And whenever you see this, whether it's in our databases or in Google Scholar, definitely click it, because what this is indicating is that we have the full text of this article in one of our databases. And clicking on this link is going to act as a bridge and take you to where the full text of that article lives. Okay, so that is what the Find It Walden button does. And just a word of caution, just be wary of the links that Google Scholar is good to find free online versions of articles. You just have to be careful about where this content is coming from, and you may need to do a bit of additional research to verify that it's coming from a reputable source. Okay, so let's move on and talk about this idea of comprehensive searching, or searching comprehensively. So searching comprehensively means exhausting the literature on your topic, and this often requires that you look outside of your own research homepage. We have a wonderful webinar on searching comprehensively, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but I will say that almost all dissertation topics are, to some extent, multidisciplinary. So keep that in mind, especially those involving policy. I mean, policy is a subject area that can be combined with virtually any other subject area. So we have people focusing on health policy, educational policy, social services policy, etc. So look at our research homepages again. Well, I navigated away. Those are going to be accessible either via that drop-down menu on the research homepages or in the select a subject menu on the library's homepage. Think about your topic and decide which other homepages you should visit. I'm going to pop back over here to our political science complete search. And let's say that in your search process, you run a search that is particularly well crafted. It's returning really good results for your topic. But you don't have time to sit there at that moment and go through all of these results and sort them out. What you might want to do in this situation is save that search. And you might want to do this for two reasons. If you need to return to this list at a later date, or you can also do this to be notified of new content added to the database that meets your search criteria in this search. So the good news is that you can do this. So if we go to the top of the results page and look to the right, we're going to see this share drop-down menu. I'm going to click on that. It opens up this menu. And from here, you can either add the search. You can add this search to a personalized folder. And in order to set up those personalized folder, you will have to create an account with EBSCO. This is really a simple process of clicking on sign in up here. It's going to ask you for an email and your name. And after providing that, you will be able to set up multiple personalized folders. And this can be really helpful because it will allow you to access content from the particular database that you're in via any computer. So you don't have to be on your computer. All you will have to do is sign in to Walden, go into this database, and your material will be there. So that's one thing I can do via this menu. I can also create an email alert, and that's what this option is here. And I'm going to click on that. It's going to ask you for a little bit of more information. It's going to email you every time at the frequency you indicate, every time new content is added to the database that meets your search criteria. So it's really helpful to do this to stay abreast of the latest literature on your topic, especially once you've moved past the database searching stage and are focusing on writing. You want to continue to stay aware of literature coming out on your topic. And then finally, another thing you can do is come down here and grab a permalink, and you can copy that and save it wherever you want to, email it to yourself, save it in a Word document. And this is simply going to be a link that you can then plot back in your web browser at a later date, and it's going to bring you right back here. So those are different ways you can save your searches and search comprehensively. Another thing that I will point out is that we do have something called the checklist for exhausting the literature, and you can access that via the quick answer search box. That is a checklist of 10 to 14 different items that helps you ensure that you are exhausting the literature. So a lot of times students are unsure, well, have I exhausted the literature? I'm not really sure. This checklist is going to help you do that. Okay, lastly, I know we're running short on time here. There might be times when you need to access materials that we do not provide immediate full text access to. So one way you might encounter these materials is by searching in a database and not limiting to full text, and that's what we have been doing. Some results will not show the full text or a Find at Walden link. So for those materials, you will need to submit a document delivery service request. And you can do that, I'm over here on the library's homepage again. You can do that up here by clicking on Services and then Document Delivery Service. And you will read about document delivery. There's a video showing how to do it, the guidelines, and then you sign into document delivery service over here, input the relevant information about the article you would like, and it will be emailed to you within 7 to 10 business days. Another option is called worldcat.org. And this is an international library catalog. I'm gonna go there real quick. This is what the homepage of WorldCat looks like. It's an international library catalog with records of virtually every resource out there, whether it is a book or a journal or a video, etc. So you'll just enter the title of the resource into the search bar, click search. When you do that, you will select a particular result, and you can go in and view all available editions and formats of that resource. And probably the most helpful thing you can do with WorldCat is enter your zip code to see the nearest libraries to you that have this resource. So you might need to do this if for some reason we can't fulfill a request through document delivery service. This might be a good thing to try out to see if you can get access to that resource in some other way. It's going to show you libraries all around you or institutions near you, public libraries, also private libraries, where you can access this resource. If it is a private institution, I recommend calling ahead of time just to make sure that they're okay with you coming and making a photocopy or something like that. And if you have other questions about accessing the full text of materials, we do have a Find Full Text guide that is very helpful. Okay, there's more that we could talk about, but in the interest of saving time for questions, I'm going to conclude my remarks there. We have deviated from the PowerPoint during the session, but you might want to grab the file so that you can access some of these resources that I have hyperlinked, especially this one since we didn't get a chance to talk about staying organized. But I also want to leave you with ways that you can contact us. So you can always contact us via the Ask a Librarian feature on the library's homepage. And that is going to be located right up here in the top right. If you click on that, you'll see all the different ways you can contact us: email, you can phone in a question. We have chat hours every day. And then if you are at the doctoral level, you can schedule a research appointment with one of our liaison librarians. And these are 30-minute sit downs in which you can discuss any aspect of your research that you're having trouble with and get some expert guidance from our librarians. So with all of that being said, I hope this session was helpful, and I hope you reach out to me with any questions you might have. I want to just quickly mention this email at the bottom of this slide: sppa.librarian@mail.waldenu.edu. This is a new email that I have for the School of Public Policy librarian, and feel free to use that to reach me personally. This is one way that you can sort of bypass the Ask a Librarian queue. So use that as you will. And thank you so much for attending today. Good luck with your research, and I will now take any questions you might have.